right. Welcome back to another edition of the Supply Chaney podcast. I am your host, Nathan Chaney. Today we're talking to Chris, the CEO and founder of SiteTrax.io. He also dabbled in podcasting during COVID. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about that. And he's done a couple of other entrepreneurial things with his life and kind of specializes in the tech and systems side of the world. And so excited to kind of dive into all that with him. Chris, welcome to the Supply Chaney podcast. Can you take a couple minutes and tell everyone a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me, man. I've been a computer engineer at training at Virginia Tech, kind of gave it away a couple decades ago. Got into the whole serial entrepreneur life about 2 decades ago. Got a little bit of exposure to the Fortune 500 company side, even more exposure on the technology side, and learned I was a really good Swiss Army knife and a terrible specialist at one thing. And about 20 years ago, specialists were valued. So I went off on my own, did my own journey in business, thought I had a lot of cool ideas and could solve a lot of really interesting problems that are out there. Looked a little bit at the consumer side, but just immediately gravitated towards the B2B side of things, especially when it came to just electronics and computers and everything that was available, especially I think of the early 2000s, man. That's really when the internet bubble imploded, right? And then everything started curving back up again. So really got tied into the internet. Founded my second company in the late 2000s, sold that, got into cameras on big machines after that. And that's really what started me on my journey towards where we are today with SiteTrax, what we do with computer vision and AI. And as a CEO, I'm having a blast. Absolutely loving it.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to diving into the zeros and ones of everything. But before we do that, I like to try to peel it back and like bring out the old VHS tapes of family Christmases and things, and talk a little bit about where you came from and what your upbringing was like.
Wow, yeah, the VHS tapes. Yeah, that's definitely dating me. I think we're around this similar age groups
Yeah,
here.
we had VHS tapes rolling on Christmases and Thanksgivings and stuff. So no,
Yeah, growing
yeah.
up, didn't have the camcorder, but definitely had the VHS. I actually remember getting Nintendo when I was in my early teens, and that was actually a hand-me-down system from the newer systems that were coming out. My background as a child was a good one. I basically raised by a single mom, two sisters. I was the middle child, so always trying to get people's attention from the aspect of annoying my older sister or annoying my younger sister. Going further into that, always gravitated towards the early days of computers, but I was also a jock, so it was a massive cultural clash. That's when nerds were not cool. Like kids nowadays, I mean, it's you're tethered to your phone, right? Back then, computers obviously not cool in the VHS days. I mean, I even did like the bulletin board system stuff, and I would practice football, did a little bit of wrestling, and did I started varsity football even in high school, and I always find myself in the evenings. I wouldn't go out to the parties and stuff. It would be tinkering. Like a big thing for me, if anyone remembers, is the bulletin board days before the internet. Even I don't know if you ever dabbled in those. This old dial-up modem days.
Dial-up modem was about the time I entered the world of being old enough to get on the internet in the first place. So that was where
The
my
AOL.
uh, yes, I do remember the CDs a little bit. Like the AOL
Floppy
CDs, I
disk,
guess, to
bro. No,
download.
this was the floppy disk days.
Oh yeah, I was that was about my entrant. Like I entered the scene right at the like transition, I guess, from floppy disk to CDs. I think.
More modern.
More modern. Like one of the funny things I like try to say is like when Facebook was rolling out, I was in the cohort of people waiting for my university at the time to get allowed on, right? Because it was like by domain and university. Or like another way is like my first camera I ever had was a Sony CyberShot 2 megapixel that I bought at Walmart with like lawn mowing savings that I'd been saving up. What is your like? You talked a little bit about like a PlayStation or like a gaming
Nintendo,
system,
yeah, yeah.
Nintendo. What is your like earliest like electronics and
Oh,
software sort of things that you
I had
remember?
the fortunate aspect of having neighbors that owned an Atari. But my first actual family owned one was a Nintendo. And I just remember all the different games, like, I mean, obviously Duck Hunt and Mario from the early days, and played that religiously, and then just got into a whole slew. That's what got me into the early gaming, early passion of computers, just the uh, strategy around games and the gamification of things. I think has spun out a lot of it, because a lot of people have had similar journeys of the gamification of things is what keeps human beings attention at times.
Yeah, that competitive nature that we have, I guess try to feed into that. Do you think that you're kind of like that Nintendo and the computer age kind of coming in? Is that maybe what helped inspire your kind of going into studying computer engineering, or like how did that sort of story unfold?
Yeah, the I was fortunate enough to be mentored by a good set of not only teachers and those in our church and our community, but amazing neighbors. I actually had an awesome uh, childhood, just with the neighbors that really embraced each other in the family, just like the people opening their doors and actually communicating with their neighbors. Mind blowing concept to go outside and say, "Hey, neighbor,"
Yep.
and
Yep.
that whole community aspect. It was that, and it was here in Virginia Beach that I grew up. And if it wasn't for like a lot of the neighbors exposing me to the computers, and even my uncles were freaking amazing. I had one such uncle that he was really really good in terms of he even had a. If, do you remember the old days when you could actually go to a computer store that was privately owned, not just a Best Buy or a Walmart, and get a computer?
Yeah, I'm
Maybe.
right.
Yeah, they used
Yeah,
to
yeah,
exist.
yeah, yeah.
That was a popular thing in the early '90s, late '80s, where was the PC, like IBM PC Junior was one of my first real computers that I ever had, and then just kind of went on the whole Intel blitz and was building computers and things like that, just as even as a teenager.
My first computer that I owned in high school at some point, it's the funniest story. I bought it was Gateway something something, and I bought it from a pawn shop. I mean, I'm like from
Nothing
Little
wrong with
East
that.
Texas, Podunk town, and like
Yeah, wasn't
I learned
Gateway
some
the
lessons on
cow?
that. Yeah,
Wasn't
like yeah, the gateway
Yeah,
with
yeah.
like the cow logo and everything, and it was like not only was it a gateway, but it was from a pawn shop. It was like $200 or something. And so like I'm not a computer guy. I was just like, and I'm not the smartest, I guess, cookie in the room. So anyway, but that was my first ever computer was a pawn shop gateway system.
I love that. I love that, dude. That's pretty awesome.
So tell us a little bit about that sort of transition into school, and kind of continue on that path of deciding on what to major in, and what was that school experience like?
Yeah, actually, school was quite interesting. So I actually applied to a number of universities, normal Virginia institutions. Applied to William and Mary, VCU, UVA, Virginia Tech, and candidly, I there was two things that nailed me on Virginia Tech going there as a computer engineer and wanting to go in computer engineering. A, they had just started the computer engineering program when I got in, so I would have been one of the first to go through the 4 year cycle of starting as a general engineer and then going through the whole computer engineering program. And then the second thing was price. I don't know what the heck has happened, but inflation has not been as high from when I went to school 20 some years ago as $1,800 a semester for an awesome university, regardless if you're a fan of Virginia Tech or not. $1,800 a semester. It was well within line the community colleges. The community colleges might have been $1,200, $1,400 a semester. $1,800 a semester. I think most universities have completely lost their freaking mind with what they charge now.
Yeah, I'm working on my MBA right now, and I'm at paying about 3,000 per 4 hour per
Per
three
credit
hour
hour.
class.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's inflation hasn't been kind
No, not at
in the
all, man.
education
Not at
world.
all.
And then so while you were there, were you part of any clubs or activities, or like what'd you do with your all your extra free time?
That's the best. Um, my stepson's in college. I've been trying to teach him the art of it. He's embraced some of it, but not so much. Because I was doing computer engineering, you actually take more classes than the standard. Most of the engineering degrees, I don't remember if it's like 10% more credit hours to get the same degree. So it does require a little bit more time. So my hacks were doing co-ops and internships. So I did an internship every summer as much as I could. And then I also had to pay for all my college. I got some pretty good scholarships and stuff, but my cost of living wasn't covered. So one of the hacks that was absolutely freaking amazing was the work study programs, where the university would have as there were certain menial tasks, be it let me take your driver's license and give you a wristband so you can go swimming. So it was kind of morbid, so they could actually identify your body when you're at the bottom of the pool. Candidly, that's it. It is the wrist on. We took everyone's license. So we knew they were going into it, but that was my job. Make sure, hey, driver's license, and I give you a wristband. So I mean, I could study and I'd get paid to do a job that needed to get done for people at the university doing the gym facilities. Wasn't anything amazing. That was my freshman sophomore year, and then as I actually dove in a little deeper, it might be cool to actually do something relevant to my career too. And actually got at Tech, they had, I don't know if they still have it, it's called Software Technology Lab or STL, that was out there. And that's when I first started getting my dose of this is software. Yeah, maybe software is not for me. And it did a great job of like, hey, Chris, you need to stay in the hardware world. You like hardware. But how I stayed in the hardware world, even when I did that job, I did just some basic like PC networking stuff. Like, I don't know if you ever have heard of token ring networks, but I actually was a token ring administrator and we deployed Ethernet for the first time. So that was like the evolution. I got to experience that. Got to work with like a lot of different systems, like Novell, which was this kind of I'd almost call it an early day Linux in terms of what it was trying to become. It was really reliable, but Linux and Microsoft had pretty much dominated the operating system side. So without all the nerd speak, that's what I got deep into. It was a lot of university stuff. Got exposed to amazing people, incredibly smart people that just absolutely ran circles around me mentally. And that's when I learned, yeah, I'm definitely not the smartest person in the room here. There is a lot of really, really smart people. And that's where my journey's been, is just absorbing knowledge and always wanting to learn.
Gotcha. I would agree that whole working on campus deal is a good hack. The on the living front, for anyone you're giving advice to, I was able to get myself an RA gig in the dorms, and of
That's not a
course
bad
it it,
one.
it made me like grow up pretty quick when I was in charge of all the golf and tennis teams dorm whatever. And we had a no girls and no alcohol in the rooms policy, and then
Yeah,
to
how did
just
that
be
go over?
a police officer, like being that young. But it paid for my room and board, right? So it was a nice way to get that taken care of.
Yeah, I
Um,
had a lot of friends that did RAs, and I just wasn't in. I wasn't in the aspect of being people's parents. They didn't
yeah,
interest me, and it. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, I had my bike tires slashed, right? Like that's the,
you were
you
that
know.
kind of RA. That's the
Uh,
slash tire indicator.
so all right, so you said you did some internships, and that helped you get sort of like your feet into the industry and whatnot. What was like kind of walk us through your resume of experience and what you've done with your career.
Oh wow. Yeah. My favorite and one that I learned the most from, believe it or not, in the early days was my internship with Norfolk Southern. I started there right out of my freshman year. I had so much experience with computers. I learned so much from that company. Really appreciative, and it goes both ways. You might, oh, Chris hated it there. No, I loved it there because it taught me what I didn't want to become, which was a number. I wanted to have an impact, and like one of the feedback items that I got, and this is where I was like, wow, okay, I take feedback really poorly. That was one of the negative things they told me was your personality does not take feedback well. Like, well, because you told me I didn't do something and I did do something, am I supposed to be quiet? They're like, yeah, you're just supposed to take it. But I didn't do that. So it's part of your review. You're just that makes no sense to me. And I that's an example of the systems that are traditional in a lot of corporate institutions because they have to have them. And my mindset bucked that trend, even to the fact I'll never forget this. I had to go around. This was in the days when I'll never forget the number of viruses that were out in the late '90s, and they were menial. I mean, it was like your mouse would get taken over, and it was nothing like Bitcoin extortion and encrypting all the hard drives. It was just like, and it was an annoyance and hindrance at the time. And part of our job as interns was to go around and scan and clean everyone's computers. You can imagine how much fun that is. I don't know if you've ever done virus scanning. But
Did that include defragging the hard
yeah,
drives?
yeah, defragging the hard drives. Yeah, it was around. So it was a lot of and sitting at the employee's desk. I was sitting at the employee's desk, preventing the employee from having time at their job. And I was like, dude, I got a floppy disk. Floppy disks were quite popular. And this is before they locked it all down in USB keys. I could write a script to automate all this. So I wrote a script to automate all this, and I wouldn't just go to one person's desk and tell them, I'll be right back. I'm going to inoculate all of you guys on the whole floor. I'd walk around with 10, type whatever the batch file was, hit it, and then walk away. And they could actually, once it started, I had it go into the background. I was like, yeah, you can keep doing whatever you want to do. And I empowered them to keep doing their job. Well, that was frowned upon. It was frowned upon because it wasn't part of the network script, and I was deploying a script, and I didn't get approval for doing it. And it's like, I didn't know. I got in trouble before I didn't know. The other side of it, too, one of my claim to fames, loved the company. I think they've done amazing things for the employees, and they do a great job with them at Norfolk Southern. Was I don't know if you remember the Windows banner, that the screensaver that would go like this with the Windows icon. Well, you can change that icon. And this was the days that screensavers mattered. As a part of that script, I'd also enable the screensaver because they kept going through monitors, and they would the spreadsheet would be burnt into the screen or whatever they'd leave on there. Implemented a screensaver with the Norfolk Southern logo. And for some reason, that became the company standard that the CEO of the time saw on somebody's computer and was like, why is that not rolled across everyone's computer across the whole thing? And I was like, I didn't do it because you told me not to script it. And there was so many unique experiences. What I really learned from them is I was not the type to fit into the normal curve. I like to break things and make them better. Think about it outside the box. I like to push the limits, sometimes too far. Sometimes I push them. I like to bend them, but make them work and make them work better. If I see a problem, I'm definitely that guy that's going to take his finger, try to put it in the hole, and keep the dam from leaking, if you know what I mean. And that was my first foray into knowing I did not want to be part of the big corporate machine, and I started looking into startups as well.
All right. All right. Well, that's a good transition into what were those kind of formative years beyond the corporate machine world?
Well, right out of the gate was a startup, and I learned the exact opposite. It's like full on Fortune 500, total structure, safe, day to day, 9 to 5, startup, scary as can be, constant wrong decisions. Indecision is the worst thing that I learned. Those that couldn't make decisions actually never survived. because you'd never move forward. You could not you can't run a startup like a Fortune 500. You can't run a Fortune 500 like a startup. I don't care which it is. You'd have silos and you have different like cultures inside of them broadly. But out of that, did my first startup, learned a lot, made some great friends right out of Virginia Tech. I worked remotely before remote was a thing, which was kind of cool because there was also a customer that was out here. So it was a startup that did government work. Because I'm here in Virginia Beach. Virginia Beach is, and Norfolk is the largest naval base in the country. I think potentially in the world, but I don't know if that's changing nowadays. So there was a lot of contract software gigs with government agencies. So I worked for the startup for a couple of years, learned a lot from the president and CTO, made a lot of really good friends. And that's when I spun out my first company that I failed miserably at. That was a great experience. I think I've experienced Fortune 500, I've experienced startup. I want to invent something that can change the world. And it was a platform. This is my systems brain trying to take complex things and make it super easy for people to interact with, right? Um, that business wanted to tie together servers, sensors, and every device into a single web interface that you could manage. That was it. Nathan, your marketing background has to be screaming right now. Who's the
I don't have a
customer?
marketing background. Actually, who are you talking about?
In the business side, your
Yeah, yeah,
business, who's your customer? Everyone.
yeah,
Who's
yeah.
going to buy it? Everyone. It's like, no, if you don't have a customer and a market and a segment and a target where you want to go, it's going to fail. And it failed. We spent about 2 or 3 years at it. I bootstrapped it, learned pretty quickly what I wanted to do next, which was learn how to run a better business. So believe it or not, I founded a business to business lead generation call center. Talk about a yawn of a business, but it was ripe for disruption. Boring, and what I learned is extremely attractive to be disruptive. And one of the things that most salespeople don't want to do right here, I don't want to do it, is pick up the 10,000-pound phone and just call people and say, hey, you want to buy my widget? Or what we did was invite people to trade shows, follow up on leads, set up their appointments, kind of be the administrative assistant for it. And I grew and built all the systems that I was frustrated with what was out there. All of them were antiquated. They were post-it notes and written down. Well, prove it to me. Why can't you just record all the calls, give me a call log, give me the full transcript, allow me to audit at any time, and give me my information? No one could do it. I built it, sold it to a company out of Atlanta, and that's what sped out it was about late 2008. That's what sped out what I went into where my real passion is, which is cameras. I was on the water. I was an active leisure boat captain, if you will. Learned a lot from captaining up to 45-foot cruisers as an amateur, not a professional captain, as an amateur captain. It was absolutely infuriated by the difficulty of piloting these boats. Have you ever captained a boat amateurly? What's the
Yeah,
largest?
we've had some here. We had a 31-foot Hunter sailboat was the biggest
Okay, and
that
so
I've
you
had.
can appreciate the blind spots that you have around that son of a gun, right? And if you haven't done it before, it's even more nerve wracking.
Yeah, yeah,
And as every foot gets added on, it seems like it grows 18 feet sideways wider. It's just crazy how big the difference a 24-foot boat is than a 30-foot boat. Like night and day. And then you go 30 foot to 45 foot, you're already at yacht. 15 more feet makes all the difference in the world. None of them had any backup cameras. None of them had port or starboard cameras. Just, I mean, a multi-million-dollar boat, and you're
yeah.
just, here's the
Wow.
keys. Good luck. I was floored. Well, I looked into it, did customer discovery this time, and found out it was a commodity market. It was nothing innovative about it. Yes, it was needed, could have done it, but it would have been just another system that I created that wasn't really passionate about. But what I was passionate about is the B2B side. We're here in Norfolk, Virginia, And I chuckle about this all the time. Saw tugboats out on the waterway and saw him pushing barges, and was kind of like looking at the tugboat operator, see him go by. We reached out to him, said, "Hey, do you have like issues seeing around your vessel? Because it's really big and it's like 3, 4 stories tall." You go, "That's not a problem. I fly by my butt cheeks. I can feel the boat." I was like, "Okay, let me show you the problem." I'm like, "Your butt cheeks?" He's like, "Yeah, I can feel it. I can feel what's going on in the boat. But what I can't feel is the barge in front of me. I have no bloody clue what's going on with the in front of me. With the barge and it's being pushed by the towboat, they literally call the section in front of the barge what's called a dead zone.
Oh,
Anything that's in that zone, and it's just a mathematical equation. You have the barge, or you have the tug pushing the barge, which is my hands. The guy's looking from this finger here. That's his line of sight.
yeah, yeah.
The area that's all in front of this barge,
It's like a trucker, right? And on the back of a truck, it says, "If you're in these areas, I can't see
I
you."
can't
Sort of
see
deal,
you.
right?
But they
Yeah,
call it a dead zone with a barge because it's dead the second you're 100, 200 feet in front of that barge, whatever's there. Mooring balls, buoys, large animals, human beings, kayakers, fishers, channel markers. It's gone if that captain doesn't see them. And it was presented to us of, hey, what if you had a camera that could go out there? Oh, that's fun. Water, maritime, outside. I was thinking, yeah, we're just going to take a GoPro, put a battery pack in it, profit. Nope. GoPro's designed for a human being, and it does a great job attached to a human being or on bicycles. Gets its butt handed to it in about 4 to 5 hours, if you even run that long. And those that have actually used it, it's more like 2 hours of runtime. And now let's get into if you're going to put your eyes out there, you need real time stream. Oh, also, it can't be any interference, because if it's flickering and if it freezes up, you want to talk about ticking someone off that's using that to see their blind spot. Can you imagine backing up your car and all of a sudden it freezes up and you're seeing
yeah.
a frozen frame, but you're still moving? You want to talk about something that's nauseating that you're depending on as an aid? Yeah, not at all. That's where we had implemented this solution, highly technical term, tug cam.
This sounds really smart. Yeah.
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
that translated from Latin or something? Or
yeah. Maritime vessel camera might have been a little better, but we just went 6 words, tug cam. That's what it is.
yeah,
Did more market discovery. I was like, wow, there's 25,000 vessels around the world that this could go into. So you start getting your total addressable market,
yeah.
serviceable addressable market. It just kept going smaller and smaller and smaller. Like, yeah, we would have to corner like 50% of the market to barely make $1 million a year on something. And it was just kind of like, yeah, and no. It was fun. We implemented it, learned a lot. But what then I then learned, it wasn't just tugboats, which blew my mind. Here in Norfolk, there was a building that they were building called the Slover Library. I saw this crane. It's called a tower crane. The operator was on one side of the building. He was lowering a load on the other side of the building. Couldn't see what he's doing. No clue. Very obvious he couldn't see what he was doing. I had the tug cam in my hand, and I knew from, and I didn't share this with you earlier, I actually did do a little bit of construction work when I was 14, 15 years old. Not quite sure if it was legal at the time, but they told me it was, grading dirt. That's where I got my dose of I didn't want to be a construction worker. Respect the hell out of those guys. They do amazing jobs. And I knew you could never get in trouble for asking for a site safety supervisor. Go on to any site and you say you want to talk to the safety guy, they'll welcome you arms wide open because you're talking safety. Talked to the guy, said, hey, I got this camera, and he ripped the words out of my hand or out of my mind. And he goes, you want to put that on my crane? And it was the tug cam. Like, yeah. And I'm like, I'm not climbing up that thing. And the site guy goes, why don't we just put it on the hook block? And I'm like, what the heck is a hook block? It's like, give me a minute. He signals to the crane operator, brings it down. We already had 4 magnets on it because on a towboat, on barge, there's waves, there's wind, things fall overboard very easily. These are 4 100-pound magnets. We attached it on the hook block and went cling! I went, holy crap! Because the thing's solid steel. Attached to safety lanyard, flew it up, and that's where hoist cam was invented. It was further into my journey on cameras in the craziest of places. Tugboats, obviously, tower cranes, reach stackers, container loaders, ship to shore cranes, overhead cranes, excavators, multi-million-dollar machines. If you just summarize it at that, ignore the operator when it comes to usability. Just a visual aid. Can you just tell me what's going on? And that's what it is. It's not a safety device. It's a visual aid, just like a backup camera is on a car. You still need to look. You still need to use your mirrors. You still need to do the proper positioning and driving. That backup camera is a aid, an operator aid to see when you're in the blind. And that's kind of the pre-SiteTrax days.
All right. All right. Well, just given the time here that we've got, maybe let's dig into the SiteTrax days then and talk a little about what you're up to right now.
Yeah. So out of hoist cam came the need the operator was not able to see. I learned pretty quickly it wasn't just the operator that didn't know where that roll of steel went, where the rebar went, where the container went. I'm sitting here as an outsider, fan of Amazon, Walmart, having things delivered to my door, having a picture of it. Makes sense. Supply chain works like that, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
ideally.
Yeah, that container ID. Doesn't everyone wish that container ID was actually the tracking number that I could put on ups.com and, it'll be in my door in 2 hours. That's great. That's kind of like the holy grail. Learned really quickly it doesn't work like that. That's a whole other podcast, whole other conversation. But this is where SiteTrax was really born out of. This was about 8 years ago. I applied for a grant here in the state of Virginia. Ideating, I said, our customers have no idea. Okay, we've proven that the operators have no idea where things are. A customer of ours at a job site that was at another Norfolk, Virginia site that was using the hoist cam camera said, Chris, your camera's staring right at the material. I have no bloody clue that he moved that there. Can't you just tell me what's on it? Yeah, I'm up for the challenge. Who else is interested in this? Looked into it, got a grant from the state of Virginia. Absolutely amazing state to do business in. They've been amazingly supportive of us over the years. And at the end of the day, the grant did its job. It allowed us to dive deeper into the tech, see what was out there, implement some proof of concepts. And our post-mortem on the thing, this was 8 years ago, we need about $25 million to invest into this to get the right computer vision that's functional and operational. No. I'm not a professional panhandler. I don't raise money. I operate businesses. I love operating businesses. I love working with people and solving problems. And so we decided, yeah, that was fun. Thank you. Let's see what technology evolves. Then there's this thing called the pandemic that happened. And I don't know about you, but everybody from this end of the planet to the opposite end of the planet got to feel the constraint of the global supply chain and intermodal containers getting jammed up. Literally nobody knowing where they are, rates going through the roof, everything going crazy. And that's where we dusted off. It was called Site Tracker at the time. And we dusted off the concept that is now SiteTrax.io today. Out of that, we dug deeper into it, started spinning it out, and then the icing on the cake for us to actually to form the corporation that is SiteTrax Inc. today was ChatGPT coming out. We were doing the AI before ChatGPT came out, and that's where everyone was becoming receptive to AI and understanding that computers can do a lot to make your job easier, more productive, tell you where your stuff is. And we learned about the multitude of systems that are out there, from the yard management systems and terminal operating systems. And we positioned ourselves for SiteTrax. All people wanted was just tell me where my stuff is. Where is it? Well, why? And the laundry list is like down the hallway. Oh, I don't want to get charged attention. I'm worried about the merge. We're not billing accurately. We have no idea when it left. We have no idea when it's there. We don't know when to stock the inventory in our warehouse. We don't know which warehouse it's at. Oh, I need to dispatch a trucker. I have no idea when they actually left, even though they have a GPS puck on it, but the GPS puck bounced outside the perimeter and then back in again. We just need visual confirmation. Did they pick up the right load? Did they drop off the right load? Did it go to the right database? And can I just do my bloody job? The whole magnitude of it all starts with good data. I mean, that's the idea at the end of the day. From the hoist cam, learned that when that operator has actually line of sight on what he's interacting with, he can work 20 to 30% faster because he's more comfortable with what he's doing. When people actually know where their stuff is, it's amazing what you can do in terms of, in the global supply chain of things, actually act upon it. And SiteTrax as a business is a pure data, AI, computer vision play to actually tell people where their stuff is at the end of the day, and give them actionable data that also feeds their systems or other AIs.
Wow. It's cool to kind of have to see the, within just 20 minutes or so, just talking about that, like kind of the full timeline of where things started with tugboats, right? And then kind of
Yeah,
like
it
where
was
you're
kind of
at
amazing,
today.
man.
And how you have to kind of like ride the wave of technology as the hype cycle for AI and stuff like hits a sweet spot that you don't have to educate customers completely because it's already kind of getting buy-in from the general public and business, the business users, which was kind of what you started to allude to earlier when you were talking about your very first platform idea of having sensors, and all these
Yes.
sort of things. And my comment to that is like, it wasn't, maybe it was a great idea and it is probably needed, but the cost to educate people because they didn't know that that was needed. That's where the expense of getting things going is, right? Is like that educating
Yeah, I highly
customers and everything.
recommend never implementing anything like a hoist cam, because when somebody is aware of a problem and you have, actually, even the emphasis on it, and you don't have any competitors. We actually did have competitors, and I should say competitor singular. There was one company that had done it before when we had launched it. We had launched it as TugCam first, had no idea there was, by the way, there were no TugCam competitors. We have exclusivity on that. TugCam, amazing product. We, believe it or not, we sell a couple of TugCams under the HoistCam brand every year still. It's a very niche thing. So at the end of the day, when people ultimately find out that there's a solution to a pain point that they've always been dealing with, odds are very slim that they're going to want to fix it, unless they're have a natural propensity to want to change, like a doctor. A doctor's always learning, gets new advice that antibiotics are the way of the world. Maybe we should be cranking so many antibiotics out. The more educated of businesses tend to embrace changes to theoretical implementations. Others, like logistics, a little slower to embrace. But when there's a direct pain point and it's not just a headache anymore that they're wishing to tolerate, and it's a migraine, that's when there's an amazing opportunity in the market.
Yep. Yep. Well, I think maybe we will have to have like a 2.0 podcast discussion today because I think we could continue on. But thanks for joining in today and sharing some of your time and your experience and your expertise in the world of entrepreneurship and computer science stuff. Any final thoughts before we depart for today?
Not at this time, man, but thank you again for having me on the podcast. Really excited to be able to come back. Love to learn also from your viewers if there's any other interest in the realm of computer vision AI. That's my journey right now, and really excited to be a contributor.
Cool. Well, thanks again for your time, and I'll see you around.